Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into a question that really shapes everything around us. How do we actually build the future?
That's a huge question.
Right. And our source material for this is Peter Thiel's really influential book, 0 to 1. It basically challenges the whole idea that progress is just, copying what already works.
Exactly. Thiel's core argument hinges on these two kinds of progress. You've got 1 to N. He calls that horizontal progress or globalization.
Okay.
That's like taking a typewriter that works and just making 100 more.
Yeah.
Expanding the known.
Making more of the same.
Right. But then there's 0 to 1. That's vertical progress, singular creation. It's about inventing something totally new.
Like going from the typewriter to the first word processor.
Precisely. And Thiel really hammers this point home for true, transformative progress. American companies, individuals too, they absolutely need to focus on this 0 to 1 creation.
Because just tweaking the old ways.
Yeah, just fine-tuning what's already there. He basically warns, well, that just leads to dead ends.
So, our mission today is to unpack what it really means to create something fundamentally new, how to challenge, conventional wisdom, and ultimately, how to shape a definite future, not just keep repeating the past. Let's get started.
Sounds good.
Okay, so Thiel kicks things off with this really provocative question he apparently asks job applicants. What important truth do very few people agree with you on?
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the surface, that sounds like, a standard interview question, maybe a bit tough, but it's way more than that, isn't it? What's it really getting at?
It's a kind of litmus test, really, for that 0 to 1 thinking. Because think about it. Most knowledge we learn in school, it's agreed upon. That's the definition of established knowledge.
Right, it's consensus.
So the question is intellectually hard, sure, but it's also psychologically tough. It forces you, to actually say something unpopular, maybe something people think is weird, to think for yourself.
And Thiel thinks progress depends on finding these unpopular truths.
Absolutely. He draws this sharp line between horizontal progress, globalization, like China copying Western models super fast, and vertical progress. That's technology doing new things.
And technology isn't just computers, right?
No, not at all. It's any new and better way of doing things. And his own contrarian answer to that big question. He says, basically, most people think globalization defines the future, but the truth is technology matters more.
Why does he say that?
Well, he argues that without fundamentally new tech, just scaling up current ways of living globally, imagine hundreds of millions in India consuming like modern Americans, it's environmentally unsustainable. Think pollution, resource strain.
Okay.
And he really stresses that this crucial new tech, it usually comes from small focus groups, startups really.
Okay, let's dive a little deeper into that, because a lot of how we think about innovation now, kind of ironically, is shaped by past mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, the dot-com bubble.
Yeah.
Late 90s. For anyone who remembers that time, the global feeling was, well, kind of a general malaise, economic anxiety.
Yeah, definitely.
We had a U.S. recession earlier in the 90s, those unsettling images from Mogadishu, this growing worry about globalization, the East Asian financial crisis in 97, Russia's ruble crisis in 98.
It felt uncertain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And amidst all that, the internet seemed like the only really bright spot, the only clear path forward.
Oh, it was an incredible time. Intense, though. A really short-lived dot-com mania, mostly peaking between, say, September 98 and March 2000.
Right.
And the feeling was truly like no loss was too big to be described as an investment. It sounds crazy now.
Can you give an example? Like PayPal?
Yeah, PayPal is a perfect case study. Our initial goal, believe it or not, was creating a new internet currency, our first actual product, beaming money between Palm Pilot.
Palm Pilots.
Yeah, it totally flopped. So we pivoted to email payments, and then we did something that seemed completely unsustainable.
Which was?
We literally paid new customers $10 to join, and another $10 if they referred someone.
You paid people to use your service.
We did. And it led to this unbelievable 7% daily growth. I mean, our user base doubled every 10 days.
That's insane growth.
Totally insane. But that explosive, seemingly irrational growth, it allowed us to raise $100 million in March 2000, literally just as the bubble popped.
Wow. Talk about timing.
Pure luck on the timing, maybe, but the strategy worked to get us there.
So, okay, the bubble bursts, the dust settles. What were the big lessons learned that everyone in Silicon Valley took away from that madness? And how did Thiel just completely flip those on their head?
Right. So post-crash, These 4 big lessons became like the new gospel. Dogma, really.
Okay, what were they?
First, avoid grand visions. Make only small incremental steps. Be humble.
Stay lean.
Second, stay lean and flexible. Treat entrepreneurship like agnostic experimentation. Don't plan too much.
Here's third.
Third, improve on the competition. Don't try to create a new market. Just take share from an existing one. Focus on customers that are already validated.
And the last one, focus on the product.
Yep. Fourth, focus on product, not sales. The idea was if you build a good enough product, it'll just sell itself.
Okay, those sound kind of reasonable, actually, given the crash.
They sound reasonable, but Thiel argues that in almost every case, the opposite is probably more correct.
The opposite, really.
Yeah. He proposes, 1, it's better to risk boldness than triviality. Grand visions are good. 2, a bad plan is better than no plan at all. Planning matters.
Okay.
3, competitive markets destroy profits. You don't want to be just improving on competition. And 4, sales matters just as much as product. Distribution is key.
Wow. So completely counterintuitive to the post-bubble thinking.
Totally. He suggests that while March 2000, that market peak was definitely a peak of insanity, it was also weirdly a peak of clarity. Clarity about the desperate need for real new technology.
And he thinks we still need that clarity today.
He absolutely believes we lost something important after the crash, that belief in bold, transformative tech.
Okay, this next point from Thiel is really going to challenge some people, I think, especially how we're taught about business. He argues capitalism and competition are opposites.
That's a big one.
How does he even start to justify that? I mean, isn't competition the heart of capitalism?
That's the standard view, right? Econ 101 idealizes perfect competition. Loads of firms, all competing, prices driven down, profits basically zero.
Right. Good for consumers, maybe.
Maybe in theory, but Thiel flips it. He says, look, capitalism is about accumulating capital, building value, and you simply cannot do that if competition erodes all your profits away to zero.
So he's saying you need some kind of edge.
A monopoly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he defines monopoly differently. Not as some evil corporation crushing everyone, but as a company that's just so good at what it does that no other firm can offer a close substitute.
Like Google and Search.
Google and Search is his prime example. They dominate because they're just that much better. He says creating value is important, sure, but you also have to capture some of that value to be a durable business. He uses the airline example, right?
Yeah, it's stark. U.S. Airlines in 2012, they created hundreds of billions in value getting people around. But their average profit per passenger trip, just 37 cents.
37 cents.
Compare that to Google. Same year, $50 billion in revenue, and they kept over 20% as profit. Made them worth 3 times more than all the U.S. airlines combined. That's the difference between creating value and actually capturing it.
That's a really powerful distinction. And this idea, this contrarian truth about monopoly, leads to what he calls lies. How do companies play this game?
It's fascinating, right? He says monopolists like Google tend to hide their dominance. They'll talk about how they're just a small player in the huge global advertising market or tech market, whatever. They downplay it to avoid antitrust scrutiny, regulation.
Okay, so monopolists pretend they're not monopolies. What about the others?
The non-monopolists, the ones stuck in fierce competition, they do the opposite. They exaggerate their uniqueness. They try to define their market super narrowly so they look like they dominate something.
Like, we're the only British restaurant on this specific street in Palo Alto.
Exactly. Or think back to the dot-com bubble again with all those online pet stores. Pets.com, petstore.com, petopia.com.
Yeah, I remember those.
They all claim to be unique, serving some special niche, but really they were just locked in this desperate, cash-burning race to the bottom, collectively lost hundreds of millions, all fighting for the same non-existent monopoly.
That really highlights the destructive side of competition he talks about. Can you expand on why he sees it as often harmful for innovation, not helpful?
Yeah, he argues that relentless competition often forces companies into short-term survival mode. It stifles real innovation.
Like the Michelin star example.
Right, that chef who felt suicidal pressure over losing a star. That's not about creating new cuisine, it's about defending status. It's stasis driven by fear. Or think about the tech wars.
Microsoft versus Google.
Exactly. Thiel argues their intense rivalry, focused on beating each other, actually blinded them both and created an opening for Apple to completely change the game with the iPhone. They were too busy fighting each other to see the next big thing.
And the pet stores just burned each other out.
A fierce battle where basically everyone lost. He contrasts this with the merger between PayPal and X.com, which was Elon Musk's company at the time.
Right, they're direct competitors.
Fierce competitors. But they realized fighting would likely destroy both, so they merged. Thiel's point is sometimes if you can't beat a rival, it may be better to merge, consolidate, and actually build something lasting together rather than bleed each other dry.
Okay, so if competition can be destructive and monopoly is good for the company, why is it good for society? Doesn't that market power come at everyone else's expense? Higher prices, less choice.
That's the standard objection for sure. But Thiel flips the script again. He says, in a dynamic world, it's the creative monopolists, the Googles, the Apples inventing the iPhone, who are actually the engines of progress. They add entirely new categories of abundance to the world. The iPhone wasn't just a slightly better phone, it was a whole new thing. Their monopoly profits, in his view, aren't a tax on society. They're the reward for creating greater abundance.
And because they have those profits.
Because they're not fighting for quarterly survival, they can actually afford to think long-term. They can fund ambitious R&D, plan years ahead, tackle big problems. Companies locked in competition, he argues, just don't have that luxury. They're stuck in stasis, which he equates to death for real innovation.
So for Thiel, monopoly isn't a market failure, it's actually the sign of a successful, innovative company.
Exactly. It's the defining characteristic of every business that truly creates something new and captures value from it.
That then leads to the question, how does a company make that monopoly last? It can't just be a fluke, it's about future profits, right?
Precisely. It's all about generating cash flows far into the future. Durability. Think about company valuations. Why was Twitter valued at $24 billion back in 2013 when it was still losing money?
While the New York Times, which was profitable, was valued much lower.
Right, only $2 billion. The difference. Investors expected Twitter to capture monopoly profits over the next decade from its unique network effects. They saw the potential for durable future cash flows. Whereas at Times, sadly, its newspaper monopoly days are over.
So it's about long-term expectations.
Absolutely. He mentions that for PayPal back in 2001, their analysis showed that something like 75% of the company's present value would come from profits generated 10 years or more in the future. That long-term view is critical for a 0-to-1 company.
Okay, so what makes a monopoly durable? Thiel outlines 4 key characteristics, right? Not like a checklist, but ways to analyze it.
Yeah, 4 qualitative things to look for. First is proprietary technology. This is crucial. It can't just be a little better. It needs to be at least 10 times better than its closest substitute in some key dimension.
10 times?
Yeah.
That's a high bar.
It is. Think Google's early search algorithms. They were just vastly superior to Alta Vista or whatever else was out there. Or PayPal making eBay transactions maybe 10 times easier and faster than mailing a check. Amazon offering 10 times the book selection of any physical store. Apple's integrated design for the iPad made tablets go from unusable to useful. That 10x factor creates a real barrier.
Okay, 10x tech, what's second?
Second, network effects. This is when a product becomes more useful the more people use it. Classic example is Facebook.
Right, the more friends are on it, the more valuable it is to you.
Exactly. But the key insight Thiel adds here is that businesses leveraging network effects must start with especially small markets. You have to get that initial density. Facebook didn't start by targeting everyone on Earth. They started with just Harvard students. Get that niche locked down first.
Makes sense. Third characteristic.
Third is economies of scale. This just means a business gets stronger as it gets bigger because its fixed costs get spread over more and more sales. Software is a great example. The cost to make the first copy might be huge, but the cost to sell the millionth copy is near zero.
Right, so bigger is better, structurally.
For certain kinds of businesses, yes. And fourth is branding. A really strong brand can become a monopoly in itself.
Apple being the obvious example again.
Apple's a masterclass. The whole ecosystem, hardware, software, the stores, the advertising, it all reinforces the brand, creating this powerful lock-in. But Thiel stresses brand has to be built on substance. It can't just be hype.
Like Steve Jobs focusing on those 10x product improvements.
Exactly. Compared to, say, Marissa Mayer's efforts at Yahoo, which Thiel suggests focused maybe too much on image and perks rather than fixing the core product issues. Substance first, then brand.
So putting these 4 together, what's the actual game plan? How do you build one of these monopolies?
The mantra he pushes is, start small and monopolize. Find a tiny niche market that you can realistically dominate.
Like PayPal focusing on those eBay power sellers.
Perfect example. They abandoned the non-existent Palm Pilot market and focused laser-like on those 20,000 or so power sellers on eBay. A small pond, but one they could conquer completely.
And once you own that small market,
Then the next step is scaling up. You gradually expand into adjacent related markets. Amazon is the classic case study here.
from books to CDs, then videos.
Right. Precise, methodical expansion. From dominating online bookselling, they move step by step into adjacent categories, eventually becoming the world's general store. But it started with that initial niche monopoly.
Interesting. And he warns against just trying to disrupt things.
Yeah, he's critical of Silicon Valley's obsession with disruption. He thinks focusing on just taking down incumbents is often misguided. True creation, that 0-to-1 move, is far more valuable than just fighting over existing territory.
So it's better to be the last mover.
He advocates for last mover advantage, meaning you aim to make the last great development in a specific market and then enjoy decades of monopoly profits that result. Think like a chess grandmaster, focusing on the end game, not just the opening moves. That's where the real, enduring value lies.
Okay, we've covered market dynamics, monopolies. Let's shift to the individual level. Thiel talks a lot about founders, but also about mindset. Does he think success is just luck? Or is there a specific way of thinking he promotes?
He definitely pushes back hard against the idea that success is mostly luck or that life is just random chance. He introduces this really crucial distinction between having a definite future mindset versus an indefinite future mindset.
Definite versus indefinite. What does that mean?
A definite future mindset means you believe the future can be understood and shaped. You make concrete plans and work to bring them about. An indefinite future mindset means you see the future as fundamentally unknowable, ruled by randomness, so you basically give up trying to master it. You just react.
And he sees this indefinite attitude everywhere today.
He really does. In education, he points to students just hoarding extracurricular activities, building these diverse resumes for an unknowable future instead of developing deep mastery in one area.
Trying to keep all options open.
Exactly. In Europe, he sees indefinite pessimism, sort of bureaucratic drift, reacting to crises, vacation mania, just managing decline rather than building something new.
In
China, he labels as definite pessimism. They have a definite plan, copy the West, and they're pursuing it ferociously fast. But it's pessimistic because they know copying won't let them truly leapfrog the West, so they fear hitting a ceiling.
in America, particularly post-1982.
America, he diagnoses with indefinite optimism. After the early 80s, he argues finance eclipsed engineering. People generally expect the future to be better, they're optimistic, but they see no reason to design it concretely.
So instead of building new things,
You get careers focused on rearranging things that are already invented. Banking, law, consulting, private equity, optimizing the present rather than building the future.
and that indefinite optimism has real consequences, right? Like low savings rates, companies hoarding cash instead of investing.
Precisely. If households don't save because they just assume things will get better and companies don't invest in ambitious new projects because they lack concrete plans, how does the future actually improve? Who is building it?
It seems like a critique of the whole lean startup approach, too. Adapt, evolve, iterate.
He's very critical of what he calls those Darwinian or pseudo-Darwinian metaphors. Adapt, evolve, lean. He argues they often become excuses for iteration without a bold plan. He firmly believes intelligent design works best.
Steve Jobs being the prime example again.
Jobs is his ultimate counterexample to the indefinite mindset. Thiel says Jobs absolutely designed his business with definite multi-year plans for the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad. He proved you can change the world through careful planning, not just reacting.
So a company with a definite plan is actually undervalued.
Thiel believes so. A business with a good definite plan will always be underrated in a world where people see the future as random. He points to Facebook turning down Yahoo's $1 billion offer in 2006.
Because Zuckerberg had a definite vision.
Exactly. Yahoo saw the present value. Zuckerberg saw the definite future he was building, which was worth far more. An indefinite world couldn't grasp that definite plan.
Okay, so if we need definite plans to build the future, how do we figure out what to build? Where do the truly new ideas come from? This brings us to his concept of secrets, right?
Yes, secrets are fundamental to 0-to-1. How do you find those important truths very few people agree on?
It feels like maybe there aren't many secrets left.
That's exactly the problem Thiel identifies. He says most people act as if there were no secrets left to find. He even brings up the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, whose manifesto weirdly argued that all the important problems were already solved.
That's a dark thought.
It is. And Thiel sees echoes of that resignation in things like urban hipsterdom, which he interprets partly as a feigned allergy to achievement, a sense that the frontiers are closed.
Why do people feel that way? He lists some reasons.
Yeah, he points to 4 social trends that kind of conspired to root out belief in secrets. First, incrementalism. We're taught in school to just take tiny steps, learn for the test, don't venture too far off the path.
Discourages big leaps.
Second, risk aversion. In a highly competitive world, people are terrified of being wrong, of looking crazy or unconventional. It's safer to stick with the herd.
Third,
Complacency, especially among elites who can just comfortably collect rents on everything that has already been done. Why rock the boat if the current system works for you?
and fourth, related to globalization.
Fourth is flatness. The idea that globalization means the world is so interconnected, the talent pool so vast, that surely someone somewhere would have already found any easy secrets.
But he believes secrets are still out there.
Absolutely. He insists there are many more secrets left to find, but they will yield only to relentless searchers. He uses Andrew Wiles proving Fermat's last theorem after 358 years as an example of finding a very hard secret through sheer dedication.
So these secrets aren't necessarily complex scientific formulas. They can be simpler insights that others miss, like with Airbnb.
Exactly. Airbnb is a perfect example of an open but unsuspected secret. Everyone saw spare rooms, empty couches. They saw untapped supply and unaddressed demand for a different kind of lodging. They connected dots others didn't.
Or Lyft and Uber, seeing a new way to connect drivers and riders.
Right. Where others just saw taxis and existing infrastructure, they saw a secret about efficiency and convenience, leveraging mobile tech. They built huge companies on insights that were hiding in plain sight. Thiel makes a useful distinction here between secrets of nature, like physics, undiscovered laws, and secrets about people, things people don't know about themselves or things they hide or aren't allowed to say.
And he thinks the secrets about people are more overlooked.
He argues they're relatively underappreciated and potentially a richer area for finding new business ideas. How do you find them? Ask uncomfortable questions. What are people not allowed to talk about? What is forbidden or taboo?
Look where others aren't looking.
Precisely. Look in fields that clearly matter but haven't been standardized and institutionalized. He uses nutrition as an example. We know so much about physics, more about the physics of faraway stars than we know about human nutrition, he claims. That huge gap suggests there are major secrets about human health and behavior waiting to be uncovered.
Fascinating. So say you find a secret, a real 0-to-1 insight. What's the next step? You don't just shout it from the rooftops.
No, definitely not. You share it carefully, only with whoever you need to, and no more. And who do you need? Your company.
Your fellow conspirators.
That's the powerful phrase he uses. A great company is a conspiracy to change the world. When you share your secret, the recipient becomes a fellow conspirator. This immediately highlights how critical those initial decisions are.
like Thiel's law.
Thiel's law? A startup messed up at its foundation cannot be fixed. He really emphasizes that beginnings are special, like founding a country or the Big Bang. Getting the foundation right is everything.
And the absolute first, most critical decision.
Whom to start it with? Choosing a co-founder. He compares it to getting married. It requires deep alignment and ideally a shared history. He talks about a venture he tried with Luke Nosek, another PayPal guy, that failed purely because they realized they weren't the right co-founder match for that specific venture, even though they were friends.
Beyond co-founders, he talks about the structure, right?
Yeah.
Ownership, possession, control.
Yeah, he stresses clearly defining those three things. Who legally owns the equity? Ownership. Who actually runs the company day to day? Possession.
Yeah.
And who formally governs it, like the board? Control.
Using the DMV as an example of what not to do.
Right. The DMV is his example of extreme misalignment, where the people running it often have little ownership or real control, leading to, well, the DMV experience we all know. For effective control, he argues the ideal board size is tiny. 3 is best, never more than 5 for a private company. Keeps it focused and avoids diffusion of responsibility.
And everyone involved should be full-time, no consultants.
Especially early on, yes. Everyone you involve with your company should be involved full-time. Consultants, part-timers, even remote workers early on can create misalignment because their commitment isn't total.
What about paying the CEO? Less is more.
He points to a clear pattern. A company does better the less it pays the CEO, especially in cash salary. He mentions Aaron Levy at Box living modestly. Why? It aligns the CEO with long-term value creation through equity, not just protecting a big salary.
So equity is key.
Equity is the one form of compensation that can effectively orient people toward creating value in the future. Cash offers pure optionality, encourages short-term thinking. Equity aligns everyone on the long-term mission. Though, he admits, allocating it fairly and keeping individual stakes secret is a really tough challenge.
Let's shift gears slightly to company culture. Such a buzzword, often meaning superficial perks like beanbag chairs or free food. But Thiel sees it very differently, right? As a team of people on a mission.
Absolutely. For him, culture isn't about the perks. It's about the substance of how the team works together. The PayPal Mafia is his go-to example.
What made their culture so strong?
They didn't just hire smart people. They hired people who were genuinely excited about working specifically with us. They deliberately cultivated this tribe of like-minded people fiercely devoted to the company's mission.
Like all being sci-fi nerds obsessed with digital currency.
Kind of, yeah. That shared background and passion created incredible cohesion. Thiel argues recruiting is a fundamental competency, never something to just outsource. You have to find people who resonate with your specific mission.
So how do you attract, say, the 20th employee? The person who isn't a founder but is still crucial.
You have to give them concrete, compelling answers, not just about perks, but about why your mission is important, why you're doing something important that no one else is going to get done, and why your specific team is the right one to do it. That unique combination is what attracts real talent that's committed, not just looking for a job.
You know, that connects to another big bias, especially in tech circles. The idea that if you build it, they will come. The field of dreams fallacy. Why is that so wrong, and why is sales so often underestimated or even looked down upon?
It's a massive blind spot, especially among engineers, Thiel argues. The belief that a superior product will just magically find its market is dangerous. Distribution, which means everything it takes to sell a product, is absolutely crucial, and it's often hidden.
Hidden how? We all see ads.
We see ads, but we often convince ourselves we're immune. Advertising doesn't work on me. Thiel says that's naive. It embeds impressions, creates familiarity, and he argues sales is the opposite of engineering.
Opposite how?
Engineering builds the underlying reality, the product itself. Sales is more like an orchestrated campaign to change surface appearances without changing the underlying reality, to persuade people. And because of this, sales works best when hidden.
Which is why salespeople have titles like account executive or investment banker.
Exactly. Account executives are selling ad space. Investment bankers are selling companies or deals. The titles mask the raw sales function. The old cliche, the best product doesn't always win. Thiel says it's absolutely true, and his conclusion is stark. Distribution is something essential to the design of your product. If you build something amazing but have no plan to sell it, you don't have a good business.
That's a really strong case for respecting the sales function. So if distribution is that critical, what are some concrete ways a new company can effectively sell something truly new? How do you design that distribution?
Well, first, you need to track the two core metrics. Customer lifetime value, CLV, has to be higher than your customer acquisition cost, CC. If it costs you more to get a customer than they're worth over time, you're doomed.
Obvious, but crucial.
And then he talks about the power law of distribution, which means for any given business, usually one specific distribution method is likely to be far more powerful than every other. You need to find that one channel that really works for you.
What are some examples of those channels?
He outlines a few key types. For really big ticket items, you have complex sales. Average deals are 7 figures or more. This requires intense personal selling, often directly from the CEO.
Like SpaceX selling rocket launches to NASA.
Exactly. Or Palantir's CEO, Alex Karp, who apparently spends like 25 days a month on the road meeting potential government or corporate clients. It's high-touch, relationship-based selling for huge deals.
Okay, what about smaller deals?
Then you have personal sales. Average deals here are maybe $10,000 to $100,000. You can't have the CEO do every sale, so you need to build a process and a skilled sales team to execute it. Think Box selling its service to departments within Stanford University initially, or ZocDoc, which needed a large sales force to sign up doctors' offices one by one.
Is there a tricky price point?
Yes, he identifies what he calls the distribution doldrums, or a dead zone. This is for products maybe priced around $1,000. It's too expensive to reach customers effectively through broad advertising, but the deal size isn't big enough to support a traditional high-touch personal sales team. Lots of businesses get stuck here.
What works for lower price products then?
Marketing and advertising. This is for relatively low-priced products that have mass appeal but lack any method of viral distribution. Think Warby Parker using quirky TV ads to sell $100 glasses. He contrasts this with PayPal's early failed attempt to use James Doohan Scotty from Star Trek in their ads. Didn't work.
Uh-huh. Okay, and the last one, viral.
Right, viral marketing. This is the holy grail where the product itself drives growth because its core function encourages users to invite their friends. Facebook is the classic example. Or PayPal's early strategy of literally paying users to sign up and refer friends that created exponential growth through engineered virality.
And selling isn't just about customers.
No, he emphasizes you also need to constantly sell the company to potential employees and to investors, and even engaging with the media is a necessary part of selling it to everyone else. Sales is pervasive.
Okay, final big theme, the relationship between humans and machines. There's so much anxiety about AI and automation taking jobs. Software is eating the world. Is that how Thiel sees it? Are computers replacing us?
He actually argues strongly against that common fear. His view is that computers are fundamentally complements for humans, not substitutes.
Complements, not substitutes. What's the key difference?
He says humans and computers are categorically different. People have intentionality, common sense, complex judgment, but we're bad at processing huge data sets quickly. Computers are amazing at data processing, sifting through billions of data points, but they lack real understanding or judgment.
Like the cat example.
Yeah, Google's massive supercomputer needing tons of data to identify a picture of a cat with, like, 75% accuracy, whereas any 4-year-old child can do it instantly and perfectly. It highlights the different strengths. Computers crunch data, humans understand context, and make nuanced judgments.
You know, that reminds me of the fraud problem PayPal had back in the day.
Yeah.
How did they tackle that, and how does it illustrate this human-computer synergy?
That's a perfect real-world example. Back in mid-2000, PayPal was bleeding money, losing $10 million to credit card fraud every month. It could have killed the company.
Wow, how did they fix it?
They didn't rely on just computers or just humans. They built this brilliant hybrid system called Igor. The software, the computer part, would analyze transactions and flag the suspicious ones based on patterns it detected.
Okay, so the computer finds potential problems.
Right. But then, crucially, human operators reviewed those flagged transactions and made the final judgment call: fraud or legitimate. This combination of machine pattern recognition and human judgment was incredibly effective. It slashed fraud losses and actually led to PayPal's first ever quarterly profit in early 2002.
And Palantir is built on that same idea.
Exactly. Palantir's whole premise is using sophisticated software to empower human analysts, helping them find connections in complex data to identify terrorist networks or financial fraud. It assumes humans are essential for the final analysis and decision-making. Thiel is actually quite critical of what he calls the ideology of computer science, which often seems obsessed with computers replacing humans altogether. All the hype around machine learning and big data, he cautions that a lot of it is usually dumb data without human interpretation.
So the future isn't just computers taking over.
Not in his view. He concludes that the most valuable companies in the future won't ask what problems can be solved with computers alone. Instead, they'll ask, how can computers help humans solve hard problems? Think about LinkedIn. It didn't replace recruiters. It gave them powerful new tools to do their jobs better. That's the model. Complement, empower, synergize.
Let's apply some of these lessons now. Thinking about that clean tech bubble, huge investments, over $50 billion poured in, but most companies just vanished.
Yeah.
Why did that sector fail so spectacularly, according to Thiel's framework?
It's almost a case study in ignoring his core principles. He lays out 7 questions that every business must answer to succeed, and he argues clean tech mostly failed on almost all of them.
Okay, let's tick through them. Question 1, engineering.
The engineering question. Most just didn't have truly breakthrough 10x better technology. He uses cylindrical solar cells as an example. They were actually less efficient than standard flat panels. A lab result showing maybe 20% more efficiency sounds good, but it's rarely enough to overcome the massive real-world costs and inertia of replacing existing energy infrastructure.
Okay, number 2, timing.
The timing question. Was the market actually ready? Unlike Moore's law driving exponential progress in microprocessors, progress in solar and other renewables was mostly slow, linear. There wasn't some underlying exponential trend making it suddenly viable at scale.
Third, monopoly. Define a niche.
The monopoly question? Mostly no. They targeted these huge trillion-dollar energy markets. But those markets are characterized by ruthless, bloody competition, not empty space for a newcomer to dominate. Companies like Mia Soleil might have claimed to have a unique niche, but you can't monopolize a market that doesn't really exist or isn't defensible.
Fourth, people.
Mhm.
The right team.
The people question. Thiel is scathing here. He says many were run by, shockingly, non-technical teams. Lots of salesman executives wearing suits instead of T-shirts. They were good at lobbying, raising capital, and securing government subsidies, but often less good at actually building products that worked and scaled.
Ouch. Fifth, distribution. Selling it.
The distribution question. Many seem to just forget about customers. He points to Better Place, the battery swapping company. They raised $800 million, but their system was incredibly complex for consumers, involving installing charging stations, signing up for plans. The value proposition was totally unclear. They didn't figure out how to sell it simply.
Sixth, durability. Could they last?
The durability question. They completely failed to anticipate major market shifts. They didn't foresee the aggressive pricing actions from Chinese solar panel companies that undercut them, nor the massive impact of the fracking boom in natural gas, which just devastated most renewable energy business models. They had no long-term moat.
And finally, seventh, the secret question.
The secret question. Did they have a unique insight? Mostly, no. They justified themselves with conventional truths about needing cleaner energy. Noble, yes, but not a secret. Not a unique advantage. Thiel insists great companies have secrets, specific reasons for success that other people don't see. Clean tech, broadly, lacked those hidden insights.
It sounds like a perfect storm of getting almost everything wrong according to his framework. But wait, there's a major success story from that era. Tesla. How did Tesla manage to succeed where nearly everyone else failed? Did they answer those 7 questions correctly?
Tesla is the exception that proves the rule, in Thiel's view. They did answer the questions differently.
Okay, how? Technology.
Technology. Tesla focused on superior integrated design. The technology itself, combined with software and aesthetics, resulted in the Model S, a car that reviewers loved, independent of it being electric. It was a 10x better car in many respects. Timing. Elon Musk brilliantly seized a very specific, one-time-only opportunity. In January 2010, amidst the fallout of the financial crisis and government stimulus efforts, Tesla secured a crucial $465 million loan from the U.S. Department of Energy. Thiel argues that window wouldn't have been open much before or after. Perfect timing.
Monopoly. It's small.
Monopoly, yes. They didn't try to conquer the whole car market. They started with a tiny submarket. High-end electric sports cars with the Roadster. Very expensive, low volume, but it established the brand and tech. Then, they used that base to scale into dominating the luxury electric sedan market with the Model S. They created and owned a defensible niche.
Team.
Elon Musk himself. Thiel describes him as the consummate engineer and salesman rolled into one, capable of driving both the technical vision and the compelling narrative. He built a special forces kind of team around him. Distribution. Huge difference here. Tesla controversially chose to own the entire distribution chain, their own stores, their own service centers, no dealerships. This gave them total control over the customer experience and the brand message, unlike legacy automakers. Durability. They built an incredibly strong brand, almost a cult following, and they kept innovating rapidly, vertically integrating software, battery tech manufacturing. They built a moat that competitors are still struggling to cross.
And finally, the secret. What was Tesla's secret?
Secrets. Thiel suggests Tesla understood something profound that other clean tech firms missed. It wasn't just about the environment. The secret was that clean tech was even more of a social phenomenon than an environmental imperative. Tesla built cars that made their drivers look cool, feel cutting edge, period. Attracting trendsetters like Leonardo DiCaprio wasn't just luck, it was part of understanding that secret appeal. It was status, performance, and green.
Wow, it really looks like they checked all 7 boxes in a way the others just didn't.
A much more definite plan, executed brilliantly.
This leads nicely into a really interesting, almost philosophical point Thiel makes, the founder's paradox. Why are founders often such Unusual people, sometimes contradictory, eccentric. Think of the PayPal guys, Richard Branson's cultivated persona, Sean Parker going from hacker infamy to Facebook president, Lady Gaga building a whole persona.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Thiel observes that founders' traits often seem to follow an inverse normal distribution.
Inverse normal, meaning not clustered in the middle.
Exactly. Instead of being average on various traits, founders are often at the extremes. They might be extremely charismatic or extremely awkward, extremely trusting or extremely paranoid. They are often simultaneously insiders and outsiders. This extremity attracts both intense admiration, fame, and intense criticism, infamy.
He connects this to mythology.
He does. He draws parallels to figures like Oedipus in Greek tragedy, the ultimate insider who becomes the ultimate outsider. Or Romulus and Remus, the legendary founders of Rome, whose story involves conflict and fratricide right at the foundation. He suggests these extreme figures often become scapegoats or vessels for collective hopes and fears.
You definitely see that pattern with modern celebrities, too. Figures we treat like American royalty, Elvis, Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, their arcs are often extreme, from adoration to public downfall, or even the tragic 27 Club of musicians.
Right. And in the tech world, think of Howard Hughes, brilliant inventor and businessman who devolved into an infamous recluse. These larger-than-life figures embody extremes. Thiel uses Bill Gates as an example. Around 2000, Gates faced these incredibly intense antitrust attacks. Thiel argues this public scapegoating effectively diverted Gates's focus away from building the next generation of technology at Microsoft. The external pressure changed his trajectory.
Contrasted with Steve Jobs.
Exactly. Jobs' return to Apple after being ousted demonstrated for Thiel the almost irreplaceable value of a company's founder. His singular vision drove the creation of the iPod, iPhone, iPad, entirely new categories of value that Thiel argues cannot be reduced to a formula. It required that unique, perhaps extreme, founder.
So founders are crucial, but not because they're lone geniuses.
Not exactly lone geniuses like some Ayn Randian prime mover. Thiel's final point is more nuanced. Founders are crucial because a great founder can bring out the best work from everybody at his company. They provide the vision, the focus, the drive that mobilizes the entire team towards that singular 0-to-1 goal. They are the indispensable catalyst.
So, bringing this all together, this deep dive really suggests that building the future isn't about luck. It's not about just following trends or iterating. It seems to come down to vision, courage, and having a definite plan.
I think that's a great summary. It really challenges passive optimism. Thiel references the philosopher Nick Bostrom, who outlines 4 potential futures for humanity. We could face recurrent collapse, settle into a kind of stagnant, globalized plateau of sameness, face extinction, or achieve an accelerating takeoff towards a radically better future, sometimes called the singularity.
And Thiel's point is that better future doesn't just happen.
Exactly. He emphasizes the future won't happen on its own. It demands active creation. It requires us to deliberately choose to build 0-to-1 companies and technologies, rejecting the comfortable stagnation of just managing the present or repeating the past.
So it leaves us all with a pretty big question, really. As you, the listener, reflect on all this.
Yeah.
How will you choose to prioritize definite plans over that comfortable, indefinite optimism? How will you look for and maybe act on those unspoken secrets? And how can you embrace singularity, that uniqueness in your own work to actually build something truly new starting today?